The Stochastic Fiction Game. This is a timed writing game. I'll give myself today 90 minutes to create a story based upon a stochastic fiction outline that's going to be created with a Python script that I'm going to execute right now. There we go. And I hit enter, and that was just created. And this file itself has a timestamp. I'm going to open this up. And this is our stochastic fiction game, stochastic fiction outline for today, with these story elements that I will write to and force myself to conform to as I narrate out loud my inspiration. Story elements for today's stochastic fiction game are setting time present, setting main location, construction site, conflict person versus self, quantity of primary characters many, point of view third, tense, past tense, genre romance, format flash fiction. Those are today's stochastic fiction game story elements that I will write a story about using, having within. Looks like I got about an hour and 28 minutes left, and I need to make an entire story and have a romance at a construction site. Person versus self. My mind's already going to someone that has a little bit too much time alone on the construction sites and wants to love themselves. My mind, of when I'm thinking of construction, goes big building or homes. I've been and I've helped people do construction on homes, so I can say that I've got some experience in that, and that's where my mind goes there. For the person versus self conflict, that's a little bit something. I don't know. And with romance and with self, like romance versus society, I guess you always kind of hate yourself. So maybe in the end, all romance begins with you. And if you can't love yourself, then you can't love another. Yeah. And so what would be like the setup of the conflict on this construction side? I think I'm going to go with a home. I'm not really good at romance writing. So the more nonfiction I use to support my story, the better it may become. And I've been on more than one construction site for building a home, mostly footings and foundations. I've never done any like framework or anything like that. But I can imagine I've worked with the people. So if I did a person versus self, are they like sitting around during lunchtime? Maybe they're talking about how, I don't know what would you talk about. I don't know. Like, it'd be a better conflict if it was between two construction workers. And it kind of like person versus self. What's the point of view? What's the point of view is third person. So I got to write in the third person. It would have been maybe a little bit better doing person versus self in romance if they were talking about themselves in first person. With third person, I can be omniscient. I can go around and head hop, but I don't want to do that. This is a flash fiction story. And while there can be many characters, there's only going to be one primary character, maybe two. We got a romance here. Yeah, I'm trying to like how to work in the romance with the self. I keep on thinking of a lunch break, or they're doing a thing. They're building a home. So there's some, I guess, metaphor for that. If you really wanted to dive into it. I've only really walked around major construction sites and buildings and seen them. So I've really never done any construction site work on a large project. Just homes. no repair work though. It was always building it and footings and foundations, like I stated, cleaning up the place around. I knew people that did finish work, and they were really stressed people. Setting time, present, person versus. So let's try this. Let's go third person romance. Third person romance on a construction site. And it's versus self. So someone doesn't think they're deserving. Construction breaks your body too. It can be young. I'll have my image of back in the day. It was a bunch of once you get older, you become the foreman or the owner, the subcontractor, the lead subcontractor, who sometimes hires out the people that you once were that were laying the boards out for the footings or mounting the things, the frame, the forms for the foundation. I think they're called forms. It's been a minute. It's been about, wow, over 30 years. Past tense. Okay, so it's going to be intense past tense. I'm not going to make this some romance, though. I think let's do this. Let's have many people. Let's have it at lunch on a construction site. And maybe it could be like a very meaningful story. And they're delving into this person's problems with not thinking that he deserves the woman that he has. And I don't mean to typecast. I don't know if that's the right role. I guess, my default of having this be a male heterosexual primary character romance. I mean, it's probably what you're going to more than likely talk about, especially if you're a dude, even if you're homosexual. Most construction sites, at least in houses, and most, I would dare say, in buildings and whatnot, are probably still heavily weighted male. When I was growing up, there were all men, kids too. Well, I guess you had to be 18 to do the construction, even where I grew up. So we're going to have this group of heterosexual males. I think we're going to have like that one insightful character that convinces the primary character that they need to love themselves before they can actually love another. Is that romance, though? That is not romance. That is like a contemporary talk about relationships. I got to have some love. Man, that's painful. And so on a construction site, person versus self, mini, third, past tense, romance, flash fiction. Because it's flash fiction, if this is a novel first chapter, which is an option at times, comes up. It's one of the random things. You can always push off resolution at the end. Let's go with that. Let's go with and he'll be omniscient. So I can at least I don't man, romance. Romance with the self. It's a primary conflict. It's person versus self. And that's romance. You're always conflicting with yourself. I don't know how that's romance. I gave myself an hour and 19 minutes. 19 minutes left? About an hour and 19 minutes. What am I going to have this person doing? They're going to be... Let's do a little head hopping. Some people don't like it, but, well... It's hard to do in a flash fiction story, especially if you're doing third person, but there's only supposed to be one primary... Many characters. Ryan's thoughts. Ryan slouches. Sits on his cooler. Cooler and slouches. Oh, slouched. Slouch, it's past tense. So sat on his cooler. What's better than a cooler? Like, that's very, I guess if you're on a construction site, you're going to call it a cooler. I can give it a brand name, but that's just going to be cooler and slouches over the half unwrapped sandwich. What kind of sandwich? I would imagine like a club. Unwrapped club sandwich. And the person made the sandwich. So we're going to make the sandwich really special. So what's going to trigger this is going to be the specially made sandwich, and this person's just a construction worker. And has his partner, who I won't genderize, but I'll let other people do that. No, I got to give name, though. We still really like tag names with a specific gender these days. I don't think that's going to go away, at least in the United States of America, so let's just go with it. Okay, so person versus self, they're going to doubt it. We're going to have the other construction workers help out. Past tense, got that. Romance. Romance is in a sandwich. Of course, that's, you don't always have to be like changing body fluids to be able to be romantic. Sell more books and have more people read your stories, but not required. So Ryan sat on his cooler and slouches over the half unwrapped club sandwich. I don't want to get too many details. This is flash fiction. It's so many words, but I said club sandwich on the type of dough on like a bread roll, on a French bread roll. Still warm. Warm from the oven. No, it wouldn't be still warm. If I'm having this thing for lunch, why would it still be warm? Still fresh from the oven. There we go. Maybe the whole story is about this sandwich that they're eating. And then it's like the realization. Maybe they made it for themselves. Maybe this could be about, conflict person self. All romance starts with you. If you can't love yourself, you really can't love another. At least tell me how. Ryan sat on his cooler and slouches over his half unwrapped. And maybe that's why you love that person, because they don't love you. So maybe you can. I don't know. Love's one of those subjects. The more I talk about it, the more stupid I sound. All right, let's go with the romance. Ryan sat on his cooler and slouches over a half unwrapped club sandwich on a French bread roll, still fresh from the oven. French bread roll. I called a sandwich roll. Not a sandwich roll. like a bread roll. We'll just call it a bread roll. If it's fresh from the oven, then you're gonna know it's. And I guess like maybe that's just it. Maybe there is no doubt. Maybe this is the love. Ryan sat on the cooler, fresh from the oven. And this whole the whole story is about him eating the sandwich roll, thinking about where it comes from. His chapped lips wrap around the meaty end. Crooked teeth. Do they have crooked teeth? Do I want to? Yeah, like people's teeth aren't perfect. I don't want to deform this person like they're some messed up beast. So Ryan sat on his cooler, his chapped lips wrapped around the meaty sandwich end. And his mouth bit near his dirty, callous, dirty fingernails. Dirt, and we'll say there's going to be some concrete, or cement rather. His dirt and cement stained fingers. Close his eyelids. He closed. I got to get past tense. Chapped lips, wrapped. Yeah, past tense. Wrapped around the meaty sandwich, and his mouth bit. Bites, bit near his dirt and cement stained fingers. He closed eyelids, shading his eyes. And releasing. I'll focus on this sweet tomato. Club's got tomatoes, right? Man, I can't remember. You can. This one does. I don't think they do traditionally. Let's just do it with the cheese. My focus is on the soft cheese. And then what type of cheese? I'll go American. I don't know what really comes in a club. In this club, it's American cheese. And it has tomato. So we'll have a squish with the garden fresh tomato. Squished because we got to go past tense. And then he closed the eyes, shading his eyes and mind to focus on the soft American cheese squished with the fresh garden tomato. And we're going to go, now I'm lost. How am I going to end this story? I don't know yet. He's going to be around a bunch of people. They're building a house. Shading his eyes and focusing on the soft American tomato. He swallows. Gotta have at least the one bite, showing that this person cherishes the thing. He swallows what to drink, and there's water. He chews until his mouth hurts. and savors each bite, swallowing. And filling. Empty stomach, and filling his empty stomach filled with bliss. Fill bliss. How about fill bliss? And play on words. Maybe this will be just someone who loves themselves, which is probably the hardest person to ever love. Maybe that's what it is. I guess you can truly love yourself if you don't love. You can love another if you don't love yourself, because you are probably the hardest person to love. Yourself. I wish this was second person. He chews until his mouth hurts, savors each bite, swallowing and filling his empty stomach. I got filling. Swallowing and filling his stomach. Empty body bliss. His hungry body. Let's do that. I don't want to have feel. It sounds like bad. Not blood, body. Man, fingers, there you go. Almost. Hungry body bliss. How many times can I type a word wrong? Well, we got at least one case, one data point, mini. Well, let's leave you alone. Man, nothing weird. Some standard 1990s American name in the West that I haven't used 100 times before, which is, how about Kyle? I know I've used that. Brandon. No, I've used that. We'll say it said Brandon. This is past tense. I got to keep the past tense. He chewed until his mouth hurt and savored each bite, swallowing and filling his hungry body bliss. Whose legs dangle? Who dangled legs? What's Brandon eating? While eating chips, while clapping hands, chip salt, dangling legs. Okay, hold on. Let's put this person on a thing they're dangling on the foundation forms. While clapping his hands of chip salt. What would be the con? There'd be somebody else who would say a thing, which would be We'll go there. That's yeah. Let's do that. So I could do something special to that sandwich. I sure could. I could do something special to that sandwich. Grins, Bryce. Bryce? I don't know. That's how I'm going to spell Bryce. Feels wrong for some reason, but I'm not going to. I feel like there needs to be like an S. I don't know. Bryce. God. Names. I could do something special to that sandwich, grins. Bryce. What's Bryce? Bryce is standing. So by this time, we get footings, foundation, flat work. So this would be before the flat work, so there'd still probably be gravel on the ground. Standing on the gravel. Inside. Do I want to like drop that knowledge? Sat on his cooler. Um, middle of I don't know. That just brings me out a little bit. He sat on his cooler in the middle of foundation frames. Con- uh, constructing. I don't know. Let's just leave it there. In the middle. On the still gravel ground. That's just a long sentence. And slouches over whatever. I'm going to leave it. Stands on the gravel. And reads his phone. While what is eating a burrito? Dripping beans to the ground. And then we're going to go back to the character who's not going to say anything. Ryan's just going to eat the sandwich. I guess this will be a romance of the self. Because that is, I guess, ultimately the hardest person to love. Ryan grins. Grinned. I gotta go past tense. I don't know about. I got a lot of people grinning. But I want to have Bryce grin because I gotta write this thing in past tense. Standing on the gravel and read his phone. Standing on the gravel and reading his phone. While eating a burrito. Jesus. That's like a lot of. While eating a dripping burrito. Let's get rid of these words. Now I got at least past tense and some consistency with things. Ryan grinned. No. Ryan looked at his sandwich. I think I'm going to use the search and return engine. I got to look up a club sandwich. It's like, if it was a club sandwich, it's got this club's got the 3 layers. It does have the tomato. What did I have it as? My God, I've had like a lot of club sandwiches. Unwrap the half club sandwich, not in a bread roll. No, it's going to have the 3 layers, right? Fuck. I want to make this a good sandwich, so I got it. Yes, club sandwich. It's crazy how many I've had of these things in my life, and I don't really know the ingredients. I'm looking it up. Yes, my search and return engine. A club sandwich or a clubhouse sandwich is a layered sandwich made of 3 slices of toasted bread, cooked poultry like turkey or chicken, bacon, lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise. It is traditionally cut into 3 quarters and held together with cocktail sticks. So it's got to be that. But that doesn't bode well for some of these snide comments, because if it's a bread roll, then the dialogue here, I could do something special with that sandwich, hits a lot better. If it's your classic cut club sandwich in 3 quarters, that just doesn't, it's not the same. You can't go there with the mind. And I think people would go there with the mind. So I'd like it. What's maybe a Philly steak sandwich? A Philly is typically in a bread roll. A Philly cheesesteak. Ooh yeah. All right, Philly cheesesteak is just, that's all it needs to be. It doesn't need to be warm though. I don't want no cold Philly cheesesteak out on the construction site. That'd be lame. I don't want them having, this has got to be something they made too. And half unwrapped club sandwich just doesn't fill that. I was thinking of like some sort of Subway version of a club sandwich, which, it's a commercialized version of product that, let's not slip that in there because Subway's not making this sandwich. This person is. God, cold cut combo. Now I'm thinking Subway. I'm just trying to think of like, I just make it up, man. This person's an artist. Slouches and a half done wrapped. Let's just call it ham. But I got such a long sentence. No, I don't got the long sentence. Unwrapped ham. We got to think of cheeses now too, because I'm going to make this thing up. Ham beef. Ham and provolone sandwich on a bread roll, still fresh. A bread roll. Let's get rid of the fresh from the oven. That's just a little too much. Okay, so now I have, at least I'll show it. I can still use this maybe joke here about I could do something special with that sandwich. Because a club sandwich, if they're really going to make this, they do it in the traditional way, because they're loving themselves by making this delicious lunch and taking the time to do it. So I think I'm going to have like a little bit where this person's not even listening. And he's looking at the sandwich. They just enjoyed the first bite of. It's not a sandwich. I don't know why I put that H in there. Well, I do know why. I'm human and I make up errors, I suppose. Ryan looked at his sandwich. Look at the tomato. tomato cut fresh from his garden. With an aftertaste like summer sun. I'm going to capitalize summer too, because it's defining. Want a bite. He bites a sandwich. And then when they swallow, I'll have something about I don't know, beef. I want to try to grow everything, and this person's not a farmer, he's a construction worker. We'll think of, we got to go back to Brandon. This is going to be hard. I mean, do I want to? It's going to be a question Brandon would answer. And wiped. I got to do past tense. Bit. From his garden with an aftertaste. Like the summer sun. Want a bite? Want a bite? He bit the sandwich. He bit the sandwich. That's, man, yeah. His big boots, big sole boots. Big soled boots. Crunched gravel. I got what Bryce is gonna say. I just thought of sloppy seconds, so I'm gonna say. Bryce shook his head. I don't do sloppy seconds. Which is a derogatory term, which would align with Bryce here, saying I could do something special. There's always that person, especially on a construction site or in any room, that wants to take it sexual. And then we're going to have Brandon do it to validate that it is a damn good sandwich. But I'll give it a try. All right, we'll go back to Ryan. Maybe the sandwich. The beef. What do I have in it? The provolone? They didn't make the provolone. Yeah, but he's going to have like a thinly sliced beef cut from his roasted and seasoned by his mother and pepper seasoned. Let's put at least some flavor in this thing, right? I mean, what was that, prime, let's say prime rib. Prime, pretty slice prime beef. Let's call it prime beef. Prime cut. You're going to oven cook that. Roasted 2 days ago with his mother's pepper rub. I have prepared, I think I like the prime. The hell do they call that? I can't remember the part of the beef cut. But you just do basically a pepper rub, and I think it was olive oil, vinegar a little bit. The thinly sliced prime cut roasted 2 days ago with his mother's pepper rub. What does pepper do? What's like the pepper taste? I got 47 minutes left. The thinly sliced prime cut roasted 2 days ago with his mother's pepper rub. Fumes. Blended. Sharp. The thin, sharp. Something like provolone's got like that initial kind of acidic. Slice from the block this morning. Bread mashed. Washed. The what is that word for Mashed. That's masticated. Masticated. I'm gonna look that word up. Masticated. Masticated. To have chewed food or to have crushed the materials. Masticated. The masticated food. The masticated sandwich. There we go. And who's the main character? Kyle smiles. And nodded. In appreciation of his creation. I think he's gonna tear it apart. Pinches. Middle with fingers. And tears the sandwich. Ooh, the tomato though would be bad. But no, tears the sandwich around. The meat, the loose meat. Kyle pinched the middle of the sandwich. Let's just say pinch the end. Tears a sandwich between tomatoes and so Bryce doesn't want it. Bryce, I I got you a virgin piece. Past tense. Took the sandwich and teared it in two. All right. Although I put which, I think I'm done. Well, I end it that way. I gotta end it with more of a. I mean, I guess could that be romance? Sure. Let's go back to the stochastic fiction story elements and let's think if I even wrote to these. So the story elements for today's stochastic fiction game were setting time present. This could be in the present. Setting main location, construction site. Conflict, person versus self. I mean, it's really hard to love oneself, so I kind of went down the self-love alley. I don't know if I succeeded on that conflict. Quantity of primary characters, many. There's three. It's more than two. Point of view, third. I think I've kept a third person. And then tense, past tense. I believe so. And romance, I'm not good at it. But, you know, it shows a little bit of, I guess, would maybe be called these days bromance. But, and I think the love of self and taking the time to create something that gives you pleasure is the ultimate reward and show that you actually have affection for yourself. And this person is hopefully shows and tells that they make a sandwich and have time for the ingredients. And then format, flash fiction. It is absolutely flash fiction. It's fewer words than a normal story. And does it complete? That's what I don't know. It does talk about the sandwich. I don't know how beautiful right now. I don't know how. I'm just gonna leave it. I'm not gonna. I can read over that. And they would swear. Kyle only smiled. I don't know if that makes any sense. Kyle only smiled. Kyle smiled, knowing the hardest person to love is the self. Late payment. A sick dog. A sore knee. Late rent. A sick dog. A sore knee. Feeling love from another and from himself. The hardest person to love. All right, what would be the call of this? Self-love. How about medical bill? I think this is it. Maybe? I'm going to read it aloud, and yeah, it will be. Do I have past tense at the last sentence right here? I have at least a hinting of a past tense. Just because it's what I do before I read this thing aloud, I'll go through the story elements again. I think I've, at least with that end and that title, I've maybe created a story. And not just like first chapter. Something with all the makings of a complete story. Tension, conflict, resolution, character. For the day's stochastic fiction game with these story elements: setting time present, setting main location construction site, conflict person versus self, quantity a primary character's mini, point of view third, tense past tense, genre romance, format flash fiction. Today's stochastic fiction game story is self-love. Self-love. Ryan sat on his cooler in the middle of the foundation frames on the gravel ground and slouched over his half-unwrapped ham and beef tomato and provolone sandwich on a bread roll. He clapped his lips around the meaty sandwich and bit near his dirt and cement-stained fingers, closed eyelids shading his eyes and mind to focus on the soft American cheese squish with a garden-fresh tomato. He chewed until his mouth hurt and savored each bite, swallowing and filling his hungry body bliss. "Want us to leave you alone," said Brandon, who dangled legs from the foundation forms while clapping his hands of chipped salt. "I could do something special to that sandwich," grinned Bryce. standing on the gravel and reading his phone while eating a dripping burrito. Ryan looked at his tomato cut fresh from his garden and felt the aftertaste like the summer sun. Want a bite? He bit the sandwich. Bryce shook head. I don't do sloppy seconds. Brandon wiped his hands along his dusty pants and slid down from the foundation forms. His big soled boots crunched gravel. By the look on your face, I gotta try. The thinly sliced prime cut roasted 2 days ago with his mother's pepper rub blended the thin, sharp tang sliced from the block this morning. The bread mashed and helped savor the juices with each bite until swallowed. The cold water rushed the masticated sandwich. Kyle opened his eyes and nodded in appreciation of his creation. Brandon extended his hand. You offered. Kyle pinched the end of the sandwich roll with fingers and tore the sandwich between tomato and the end. The loose meat cuts parted. Kyle lifted the end of the sandwich. Bryce, I got you a virgin piece. Brandon took the sandwich end and teared it in two. Half the tomato fell to the rock. We can double team this one. Bryce nodded and stood, clapping salty chip dust from his hands. Line me up. Like at once, they all bit the sandwich and chewed and tasted the earth and sun and Mom's soul in the sandwich. They swallowed away their sore muscles and sun-torched faces for an instant. Bryce burped. That's a fucking beautiful sandwich. Kyle smiled away. A new medical bill, a sick dog, and a sore knee. Feeling love from another and from himself. The hardest person to love and care. That was today's stochastic fiction story. And to show the process, I'm going to go ahead and let's save this. And let's be gone from this day, or at least this time, so I can return to this day, live life, and observe, interact, and be, to maybe create and have more stories